Welcome to Design Tips for Remodelers by Remodeler Biz. Remodeler Biz is the resource site of scientificremodelingsystem.com. In this design tip, I'm going to show you a simple sunroom addition put on the back of an old home. And this was designed by an architect friend of the owner, although we usually did our own designs. She did this one and did a very good job, and I'll show you how a rather plain cube of an addition can look very good on a home. So this is the before view. We had renovated the interior of this home, the entire interior, years ago, and the inspector was nice enough to let us put the doors to the future sunroom in as long as we deadbolted them and put a guardrail up. Because there's a grinder pump in this neighborhood and in this yard, we had to dig everything by hand, and we encountered a lot of pipes. It's always a lot more difficult than you think on paper. A number of pipes, and even with digging by hand, we hit a few of those. So finally, we've got it excavated and the footings dug, and we're in what's called chert here in the south, which is a kind of rock and dirt. And get our rebar in, number 4 rebar on high chairs, and we're ready to pour now. So we finally get those poured and put some straw around to keep down the mud. And so what we usually do when we frame a small addition or a deck, we will build that on temporary posts. And we do this so we can get the floor all leveled and square, and then when we've got it just right, we'll measure for the permanent steel posts, and it really speeds up the process, especially on decks. Now the side walls are all framed in, and we have yet to cut the soffit off so we can raise these walls. And because we have a dormer above, we can't put a gable roof in, which is what we always prefer. So we're going to imitate the shed dormer above. And now we've cut off the soffit and put our 2 side walls up. And once we cut into the house like this, we like to really speed it up so we don't get any water inside. Here, one of our carpenters is tying in the existing soffit to the new addition. And we use lamb beams because we had some really long spans in this one. And do notice that we use 2 jacks under these lamb beams, 2 jack studs, and you should check your codes because they vary from place to place, so be sure you have the right amount of jack studs when you're doing long spans like this. And there's a big window we have that's going to be looking out the back. Notice also how close to the ground it is. Most codes, if you are less than 18 inches above the finished floor to the glass, they must be tempered, and that costs quite a bit more. So we designed this so we could get just above the 18-inch mark. Now we're putting the sheeting on, 1/2-inch sheeting to brace it, and we're ready for windows now. Pretty plain looking, but it's going to look really good when we finish. Because of the size of these windows, we had them all molded together, and we just take the casements out and just put the frame in, being sure that everything's straight and plumb and level. And we're using a Lincoln window here. Now we got our floor frame. Our ductwork is brought in from the existing ductwork, and recessed lights are wired in. Now we're putting on the casing and the drip cap above the casing and siding. And you notice our siding is cut exactly flush with the adjacent sheeting. And I'll show you why in just a moment. Now we're all dried in with felt. And now you can see the 2x2 corner. And we've seen this in a lot of older homes where they put the 2x2 in. So what you do is cut your siding flush with the sheeting on both sides, cut your corner piece, put it in place, and then wedge it in tightly using 16 penny galvanized casing nails. And you get a really nice clean corner that way. Now let's look at the masonry underneath the addition. We're going to build a knee wall because we need one to retain this dirt here. And so that's almost done now. Got the brick to match as closely as we could to the old brick. And now we're ready to put some arches in. Also we've framed for the slab underneath. And here is the template for the arch. You can see the nailers above where we're nailing these templates into place, plywood templates. And there's another view of it. We've protected the knee wall below with plastic and tarps. And here you can see the framing for the arches is all complete now. Felt is applied to the framed arches, and then the wire mesh is put in place. We're going to use real stucco in this case. There are some termination strips that are put along the top of the columns, and there's another view. And you can also see the arched metal we've put around the arches. And the scratch coat is being applied. Also note that we're using regular drip caps to bring the siding down on those drip caps. Now he's putting his second coat on, and then we'll put the final coat on top of that. The floor is a stained concrete which we scored into large tiles. And now the painting is going on, and the addition's ready for paint now. There's a rear view and a view from the left side. Now we're moving inside. We used a beadboard ceiling with recessed lights. You can see we used casing with a back band around it, which is similar to the casing in the original home. And we used beadboard wainscot and topped that with chair rail. Got some really large windows to look out. And now the coat of poly has been put on. And this is after view, so you're looking out from the windows toward the backyard. And it really turned out nice. It's a very cozy place to sit with lots of light, and it can be closed off entirely with those exterior doors. And here's the outside afterwards. The arches came out very nice, and it gave it such a wonderful feel on the patio, and also looking at it from outside the patio. It's just very nicely designed. You can see how clean it is and how the arches tie into the column tops perfectly. So there we have it. That's a beautiful sunroom addition. Maybe that will give you some ideas for your next addition, how to tie it in and make it fit into the old home as best you can. The patio turned out to be a really nice, cool place. It's on the northern side of the home, so it's very nice in the afternoon. So it turned out really pretty. We enjoyed doing this, and very proud of how it turned out. If you'd like to see more design tips and other articles, for those of you that are in the remodeling business, visit our resource site, remodelerbiz.scientificremodelingsystem.com. And if you're also interested in growing your business and your profits, visit our membership site at scientificremodelingsystem.com and become a premium member, and that's where you'll really reap a lot of rewards. Wishing you the best of fortune, as always, Randall.